Alright, thank you everyone for coming tonight. I know the traffic is particularly bad tonight. Any of you who drove here this week? Just because of reinforced closed hours, it's particularly bad. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining here. How many of you is the first meetup for demand gen? See that? So tonight we have a particularly interesting topic, at least of my opinion, which is the intent data. And intent data is becoming a buzzword in B2B. All of you have probably heard of it. But it's really, really hard to make it work and make it effective because there is so much data around. And so even when I was talking to people about this meetup we were doing tonight, a lot of my connection was saying, I don't know too much about it. We are pretty new to the whole intent data. And so that's when I decided it was a good topic to cover. And thank you, the Terminus, to host this event tonight. Josh, you want to tell what Terminus is, what you guys do?
So, Terminus, we're in the account-based marketing space. So Terminus has been around since we were founded in 2014. Originally started out as an account-based advertising company, so really being able to help marketers who are trying to do display advertising, LinkedIn advertising, be more targeted, get to the right accounts, get to the right people within accounts, and really fill that need. Some of how we've grown over the years, I actually joined Terminus, and this office joined Terminus as part of Terminus acquiring a company called Brightfunnel. So Brightfunnel, we were more in the marketing reporting space, focused on marketing attribution, multi-touch attribution, bringing all those data points together. So now with the two products combined, what we really set out to build is the full ABM platform. So connecting to your data systems, bring all your data together, combine that with additional data coming from first and third-party sources, so you can target the right accounts, engage them with different channels, and then ultimately measure it all back.
So I want to talk tonight about all the type of intent data, not just first party, but also third party intent data and other things I want to mention in a second. Before that, something about me, since most of you are new to this meetup, I was formerly head of marketing at a company called Ranch. And before I was in a YC company called Optimize, with local space, but always focused on demand generation and account-based marketing. I'm originally from Venice, Italy. And the last 2 years I started at this company called SaaS&QL. And SaaS&QL basically focused on account-based marketing, helping SaaS companies growing pipeline from target accounts. And we do in 3 phases by helping them selecting the right accounts, running campaigns to engage those target accounts, and then measuring attribution from all of the campaigns. Okay, so I'm going to give this introduction tonight about intent data, how we use it, how we do it with clients, what is my experience, and then Josh is going to talk about a little more in depth on this intent data, some workflows that they've done, and how Terminus use intent data to really power those programs. And then we'll have Josh and I, and particularly Q&A. We want to hear from you if you have any questions or comments on the topic. And then we'll have a little more conversation. So you already gave the introduction. Thank you, Josh. So we are running full steam ahead. I have to give a little announcement. We always have this section about open demand generation roles. So I was asked to publish this role at Comcast. This is in Walnut Creek, so not super close, but if someone is from the East Bay, they're looking for a regional demand generation specialist. If you have any roles that you want me to advertise in the group, please let me know. Just email info@sassenql.com. Okay, so let's go and talk about the topic tonight, which is how we make sense of buyer intent data. I always have a market unit that all the time. And this one is particularly focused on the right person at the right time. So in this case, the right person, right time, the right message, wrong time. particularly useful for one thing, for the right time. Because right message, probably almost all of you have the right message. You know who you're targeting, you know what's the pain, you can come up with the message pretty easily. You understand who's your persona, who has the pain that you're solving. But what about the right timing? How do you time your campaign for someone who is actually looking for what you sell? For example, if your platform is helping people with accounting, but right now you don't have a pain with accounting or financial tracking financial data, you're not going to care if you're the right person. Maybe you have a pain with your current platform, you want to switch, but how do you know what's the time switching, what is the right time? And that's what measuring that can help with. So these are the I categorize as the three types of intent data. The first part intent data is what Thomas was mentioning on basically tracking your own website, tracking what leads you are generating, what is the website visits that you are getting. Maybe you are sponsoring an event and you had a bunch of people coming to your booth. That obviously shows intent, but it's something that you can surface pretty easily just by looking inside your assets in your company. And then obviously tracking opportunities. Who is your sales team every day? Who is advancing the stage? And then we have the third party intent data, and that's where we get in a little more complex area. So we have a review website, very popular now with G2 Cloud, now G2 and Capterra, where you are basically tracking what are companies looking at. When someone is looking at different platforms and comparing them, that shows a lot of intent. And that's what these companies are tracking. So when you become a client of G2, or if you have that data, you can see when someone is scoring high on a certain topic because they are looking very actively at those solutions. And then we have publish and content consumption, which is through companies, for example, like Bogora, where they're looking at what people are visiting in terms of content on third-party channels. For example, analysts or partner websites where people that are writing white papers on specific topics, and they track based on topics. So if you for example, are a travel management platform, you're going to track people that are looking for corporate travel solution. And then the other third-party data is the ad networks, where you're able to get searches or engagement with certain type of display ads. And finally, the other intent, which is a little more subtle, is those trend signals. For example, when someone raises funding that you can track on Crunchbase, or when they start hiring in certain departments, that can show intent, meaning they are about to buy a certain type of platforms. And also technology adoption. Someone that just sign up with Salesforce, they might need some other platform that you provide. Okay, so let's start talking about the first party data more in detail. So the first one that you want to look, and I strongly recommend, if you walk out with something tonight, is start taking a very close look at all your first party data, because just working with a lot of clients, I see that it's sometimes so overwhelming that people don't track it enough, and they maybe start focusing more and too fast on third party data, but you have so much data already that you can look at and make it work. So, example, anonymous visits to your website. So this is from one of our clients who were tracking what companies are coming to their sites that are actually part of their target account list. And so here we're tracking when they came, what page they visit, where they came from, and particularly is that association with your target account list that makes it very interesting. Because now, of all the amount of noise that you have in your traffic, Google Analytics, and whatever you track the visits, now understanding that someone from your target account is coming, hopefully, and even better, because you are targeting those accounts on digital ads, on direct mail, on events, or whatever it is, that's a very interesting signal. And obviously, Terminus has another solution, like their solution has a good way of tracking this anonymous website instance. Josh is going to show some of it during the presentation. When this happens, I strongly recommend always make sure you account status. So if an account comes to your site, and is one of your target accounts, I like to change the status to aware. It's not a cold account or a click to your site, so I want to treat it differently from other accounts. That's the number one. Then you track lead and post submission. You can go back 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, whatever makes sense. And you want to look at what of all of the submissions you got, how many of those came from your target accounts? What was the quality of the submission? Were the decision maker or not? And so that will allow you to score those accounts according to the type of submission, the number of submissions they did. Did they request a demo? Did they download a white paper or sign up for a webinar? Those are all different level of intent. And then you want to update the account status and account scoring based on this type of signal. This is an easy one, but even this is not done every time, and I can testify for that. Look at your opportunities, but not just those that you just opened. Look at the last 3 years. I worked with a company once. I looked at the lost opportunities the past 2 years. There were over 500 lost opportunities. So we ran a quick campaign against those lost opportunities. Like this, we got 15 new opportunities of people that said, oh yeah, I want to take a new look. But maybe they didn't have a certain solution, a specific feature back then, or something changed. So you need to have those segmented in your database of accounts where it shows, okay, these are my accounts with lost opportunities, and periodically I'm going to go back to that audience and run campaigns specifically for them. And so for those that are open opportunities, you tag your account status to opportunity, lost opportunity to lost opportunity. And if they are close one, you tag them as customers, so you keep your target accounts clean, and you can segment them as we're going to see in a second. Now, third-party data, I think Joshua might be talking a little more about this later, but the two I mentioned, G2 Cloud and Bombora, these are, they look at companies that are looking to buy right now. So they have this score, intent score, that will tell you the company has, for example, a 60, is different than a company that has 90 against the specific topics or specific segment. And so you want to look for them here, 67, 77. These are companies that I'm tracking my company specifically. You see, here they're looking at demand generation, they're looking at demand generation consulting, they're looking at marketing attribution, they're looking at multi-task. These are all companies that I want to talk to when they have that specific interest. And they have different scores, obviously. And then trend signal, Crunchbase, we use it a lot when a company raises new funding, they usually are either scaling more, they start acquiring a bunch of platforms, they need to grow. That's a very good signal. And so I have periodically refresh the list of companies with new funding, we get notified, we trigger a bunch of workflows specifically, and then obviously LinkedIn to track company growth. Depending on your solution, I have clients that are looking at a specific department, for example, engineering, and they look at companies that are growing their engineering department in a certain way, or they have a certain minimum of engineers, and that's what becomes interesting to them. This is a bonus, but I added here just because it saves you so many hours of work. This little tool called Mail Parser. So if you get regular newsletter emails that are always the same format, and you want to put them in a CSV file, these will be the thing. And I looked for a lot of solutions, and I was amazed at how easy it is to really parse out the exact type of content that you want from the text of the email, and then put it in the content the right columns on a CSV file, and then if you want to add it to your CRM or do whatever you want, you can actually drop this, or it's really, really cool and strong with it. Okay, so the main topic of tonight, which is operationalizing intent data, and I'm going to focus with marketing at the beginning and then sales. So I will show you some of those account status, but the things that control the account status is the account scoring. So one of the things you want to do in order to segment your audience is have some sort of model to score your accounts. And all of this information comes at the lead level, but then you need to roll out this at the account level. So when you get, for example, 1 or 2, 3 anonymous visits from one account, you want to score that account and change their status. When you get email reply. If your SDR is sending emails to target accounts and they have a positive reply, is sort of scoring. If they have a negative reply, did they tell you they're using a competitor? Did they tell you, let's connect in 3 months? Those are all good signals. You want to mark their account because you're going to run different campaigns with those accounts than the cold ones. And then I always leave some space for custom signals. Every client I work with, they have a specific signal that they want to track because depending on their industry. For example, one client that works in the real estate industry, they look at how much the real estate agents are selling. And so that is the data that we have to track separately. But when they reach a certain level, then we score accordingly. And so that's why we always have some custom stuff, but the others are pretty standard. And once you score them, you want to segment and prioritize your account list. So let's say you have an account list of 500 accounts. You have an account stage and have account scoring. So to simplify the account stage, you have segments of your accounts that are completely cold. You have no interaction, you don't know who you are, and everything to your website is done active. Then you have some clients, some target accounts that might be interesting or you want to visit your site. They maybe show up to a booth and you scan their badge, or they register to your blog and newsletter. But at least you know that someone in those accounts, someone that is relevant to you as a title, is aware of what you do and what you have. And then you have the engage, opportunity, and all that. But it's important to have those segmented at the beginning, so that you can run those sophisticated workflows that I will show and that Josh is going to show as well. Okay, so example here, let's say we have a tier 1 account. There is a high engagement. So tier 1 engaged. That's my first segment that I want to run. Actually, let's start with the low intent. So I have my tier 1 accounts, those that are most valuable to me. I'm going to start with the low intent segment. So they kind of show some intent or very little intent or no intent. But they're still all very valuable to me. So I want to warm up those accounts by showing them ads online, via LinkedIn, via Facebook, via terminals, kind of running those programs. So they start consuming content, coming to your site, reading some of your blogs, and then you also track those interactions and engagement. Once they, for example, they give you your email, they sign up for a specific content, you can add them to an email sequence to follow up and nurture them further and propose new content and try to really keep them warm. And then maybe they do want to engage, do want to take the meeting, and then you can add them to the sales team. But if they don't, but they have shown that by engaging with those assets and that content, then they become a tier 1 account. And then I want to do a different workflow. So maybe I want to run a direct mail workflow. And so this is an example of a high intent tier 1 campaigns that we do where we send them a direct mail box because we know they have came to the site or they came to an event and scanned their badge and got a t-shirt, whatever it is. So we do this email direct mail workflow to try to get them. And we do that in a pretty short time frame. So we want to wait 6 months to trigger this workflow. That's why it's important to have all of this stuff set up before you start. This is an example of something we did internally at my company. We sent this box with a bar of chocolate to accounts that show and come to our site and show intent and download the content that we have. And the incentive here was take a meeting with us. We'll send you $50 Amazon gift card. We have a specific dedicated landing page with a calendar integration, so they can just go on the landing page and book the meeting. In the last one we did, we sent 450 boxes of this, of all the accounts that show intent, and we got 33 meetings booked. And so it works, and they were all from the target accounts. None of those were outside our customer profile. So extremely powerful when you do it at the right time. If you would have waited 6 months to do it, they would have not worked really well. And then when you have your segment, for example, if you have corporate enterprise, tier 1, tier 2, tier you want to track, how many accounts you have for each, how many of those are engaged, what is the percent of engagement, how many meetings you do, how many opportunities you find, and then you can track this percent of engagement to see how it's increasing when you continue targeting the same accounts across different channels. Another way to track account scoring for first-party data is Engager. That's a really cool tool that connects to your Salesforce, and you can have all your different accounts and score that based on their engagement. They track it by minutes of engagement, and then you can have based on the list of a specific account. And then to close my presentation, intent data for sales. For sales team, in my experience, they want to see two things. They want to be notified in real time when one of their target accounts comes to the site and does anything. They want to know that. The VP of sales, the chief revenue officer, and every single account executive jump when they see that information in the real time. And the second thing is they want to have a list of accounts that are moving and can go on, especially the SDR team. They've always wanted an updated list. If now they continue to go after this super cold accounts that have no intent, and so the percentage of conversion is really low. So what you want to do there is you want to create a real-time notification based on that intent. So I use Slack and emails to do that. So when they have, for example, a new lead from target account, if you have a channel in Slack you create, let's call it ABM leads, shoot out a notification saying there is a new lead from this target account, and put the information there. Same when you have an anonymous visit from the target account. I have that on the regular, I get notified every time someone from my target account comes to our site. I can send a LinkedIn message within like 10 minutes to the person that we can try. And it's even better when you do that and you're running direct mail campaigns against those accounts. I literally have the situation where we sent out those boxes and one of those target accounts came to the landing page. I got notified. I reach out right away and say, I saw you were checking out, you want to set up a meeting? The answer was always yes. And pretty impressed by it. So it's really effective when you do that. Scale it to your whole sales team. And also when a specific account, or one of the target accounts, reaches a specific score. And then the second part, the list prioritization, you just sort the list of target accounts based on intent. And then you want to take a separate list for new accounts that were not initially part of the target account list, but are showing intent, as long as they meet your customer profile. So this is an example of the Slack notification we use for our clients. And it says, hey, we have one of your name accounts came to the site right now. So to power a lot of this automation, we use Zapier. Really cool tool that we have used before. But you see every time that we read from LinkedIn, we figure it out to workflows in Salesforce, in Slack. We use a table as a backend. And so we can kind of automate a lot of those cool workflows. In conclusion, so the intent data will help you discover those low-hanging fruit opportunities. Take a look at your first-party intent data first. There is a lot of low-hanging fruit there most of the time, from anonymous visits, opportunities, and all of that. Then you can move into the third-party data that is going to help you know which companies are looking at specific topics actively. And if you are looking at, if you have a very clear topics that you target, that's going to give you a clear picture of who you should target in marketing and sales. And then it's important to automate these workflows. Don't do one-off campaigns. So if you just decide next month to go and look at your lost opportunities once and send them a box of cupcakes, you're going to get some opportunities, probably some meetings, some engagement, but that's it. So everything that it works is when you automate it, put it in the back end, and it just works for you. You might want to refine it, but have something that works every day, every month. So this becomes really powerful. With that, I close my presentation. Thank you. Any questions on this?
What would you say is like the greatest friction for people these ideas and actually implement. Because I get all this stuff, but like when you start saying automation and do these things in the back end, I'm like asking myself, what pieces of technology, how do I automate it, how do I connect these things together so that I give my sales team all these notifications so that they make sure I'm following up with the delivery. Like,
yeah.
How do I do that? Because that's my thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the hard part, right? So there are a few challenges. First of all, there is a lot of data, and you have to aggregate that all together in one place. The place can be Salesforce. We generally use Airtable because it helps us it's almost like a Tableau with less fancy Tableau that allows you to really make sense of all this data that's coming from different sources and direction. You can use Salesforce for that as well, but you're going to need to do a lot of map sizing or your field. That's why we use a more flexible platform like Airtable. So we aggregate all that data, and then we want to take one workflow at a time. So for example, anonymous visits, we focus on that first, and you put that information, you create a workflow, okay, you have that data. Now let's look at all the leads, make sure that you get all the leads. And then the difficult part, I think the most difficult one, is to aggregate everything at a time. Because you're going to get a bunch of people, some of them have Gmail address, some of them, how do you then push everything to accounts? Even when you're doing Salesforce, when you have leads and content, there's always a challenge to clean that up. Josh is going to talk a little more about this and how they approach getting all of this data from anonymous visits in one place. But then you also have to look at your Salesforce data and everything, G2 data, if you use that, put everything in one place, and then start looking what your sales team wants to see and what you need to see. The things that are like, if I would do one thing tonight, would be to create this segments here. So really have a list of target accounts and segment them, at least in stage of intent, and tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. If you have that, it's really like 5 times more advanced than most of the companies that I work with, because usually companies don't want to limit too much, right? They don't want to say, oh, we are targeting this thousand accounts. They want to keep it open, but keeping it open doesn't allow you to become systematic on the company target. So be selective, create a target account list, and then segment that based on the intent. A lot of the data is pretty easy. And then, like I said, I use creating campaign plans like this stuff where you map what's going to be your workflow. And start with a big one. You don't want to have a perfect workflow. It's not going to be perfect. Start with a big one workflow where we say, okay, we're going to send them one box, 5 emails, and then we target them with display ads, for example. Or maybe you want to do a VIP dinner and this and that. Whatever is your workflow, but have 2 or 3 versions that you have. And then, like I said, a lot of the automation that I use, I do it through ABM. So this is a tool. There are other tools that do the same thing, but this is something that allows you to connect different systems that will be connected and allows you to aggregate everything in one place. Trigger those cool notifications.
Share some best practices around the direct mail example. So your account has shown some level of intent, or whatever the case might be. Is it 33 out of 450 because you happen to set the box to those 33 people that happen to display that intent, and the remaining 120 just happen to be on companies where some random person's on at? Like, how do you sort of take the intent data and sort of translate that to specific people that are decision makers to that sort of target?
Yeah, so the people comes before you look at intent. So first I look at my account fit. So when I create a list of target accounts, I look based on fit. So for example, in our case, I need to raise at least $10 million in funding, have at least 20 employees, have sales force, whatever is your requirement as a fit. Then you look at requirement as a persona. We target the VP of marketing, the VP of sales, the CEO, those are going to be my the people that I send the box to. I don't send it to the content or files. And so what I was doing there, I was targeting those accounts on LinkedIn, particular industry. So we got a bunch of leads on the people that they had been to the site and wrote content, and requested more information, requested a one page that we had. So those were all showing intent. And then on top of that, we use this type of intent that I showed at the beginning, which is this trend seeking. So I was looking for companies that just raise money and that they don't have any market relationship, or that they just hire a real market relationship. Right? Because those are most of the companies we work with. They are the companies that feel the pain the most. They raise money, they have budget, they don't have the people, it takes time to recruit in San Francisco. Perfect intent. And so a combination of the first party intent, looking at LinkedIn and display, and this trend as well, we were selecting those accounts that way. And then the persona we were targeting are only those that we want. Your marketing CEO, CRO, with your sales. I wasn't sending to lower level. So that's what got us that really high conversion. And, it becomes an extremely profitable campaign. The campaign like this cost us about $10,000. You do that every month, it becomes really profitable to have a decent deal size. Absolutely. This was just an example. I'm not saying that you should do this for like that or that. We do use direct mail as a first touch as well. There are several people on account that they don't just engage with ads, they don't engage with emails. And so when they get a box, they do it. And so we don't want to leave you to just this. I wanted to show one example of what you can do when you start dividing your intent by intent. That's how much budget you want to allocate for this segment. But absolutely, you can use direct mail for cold accounts. Some of the accounts that we sent that were cold from an intent perspective, from our intent, but they show a high intent from the trend that I was saying. Like they just make money and they have a new one. So that's the thing that's why we send them both. But you can mix and match these things. You have to kind of map it and test it. I don't know what's going to work for you. What I did know is obviously when you send the box to accounts that are not cold, that have been more marketed at before, it was the conversion rate. But you still get it. I always get a lot of meetings from accounts that are cold. As long as you're valuable. Cool. So thank you everyone. Now let me reintroduce Josh from Terminus, who is going to walk us through basically using the data for sales and marketing and how to leverage it.
So go ahead and talk a lot about this. I feel like I'm getting too salesy and too pitchy out here or throw something at me, so I can go back. So what I'll talk about is a lot of this is in the context of ABM. This is in the context of how we thought about leveraging intent. One of the things I'll say up front is that we built out a direct partnership with Palmora, so we leverage Palmora intent data ourselves, and we also make it available for our customers built into the platform, because we just found that it's been a really critical part for ABM as part of the strategy. This is Bain. I'm wearing the same shirt as this picture, so that I can remember. But I'll talk through, I know we covered a lot on intent data, talk through a little bit about some of the different types of intent data and some of the different ways that intent data is being built out. Go into a little more detail on like third-party intent data and some of the different data sources out there. Then I'll go through some of the intent powered use cases, different flows that Zero customers having success with, and move on. So overall, I think we've got this covered pretty well, right? Intent data is some of that data that you're seeing in terms of content consumption or user behavior to give a signal that there's an intent to buy or interest in product. In terms of intent data, and so this is going to be more in that third-party intent data, like thinking about it that way. This is kind of breaking down that third-party intent into a couple different categories. So first one is the independent websites. This is going to be something like G2 Crowd. This is going to be a place where this is a website where people are coming to give feedback on products, where G2 Crowd, we do other G2 Crowd data ourselves for part of the ABM program. They'll give us signals directly into Salesforce, and we type that into Slack as well. That shows us when people are on our G2 Crowd review page, they'll show us what companies are searching. But then we can also see when they're looking at competitors or when they're looking at the overall topic category. So independent websites, really powerful intent data. It's usually a really strong signal because it's coming directly from that type of research. But the downside there is it's generally low volume, right? I'd say we get probably between 5 and 15 G2 Crowd intent notifications per day, and some of that is we'll see like, oh, this company was on your competitor's page, and then they were on your page, and so this might be multiple from the same account. But those are all things we type directly in Slack so that sales can reach out directly, SDRs will reach out directly, knowing that it's a good time to engage. It's also really helpful for knowing what competitors people are looking at, because that can help to tailor that initial outreach. Second type, publisher co-op. This is more in line with how Bombora is collecting their intent data. So basically what they're doing is they have a data co-op of over 7,000 websites. Doing things like analyst pages, TechCrunch, news. They're very focused on B2B industry sites, content syndication sites. And what they're doing there is using cookie data and browsing data, and this data co-op is sharing that in an anonymized way. So, no personally identifiable information being shared, but we do know someone from this company was reading an article about account-based marketing, and that's going to be something that can come up in one of those keyword topics. Definitely great with this co-op and the way it's set up, so it's compliant with like privacy and security laws. You get more volume of data than websites. I do know with Bombora, they're running machine learning stuff, parsing this topic, so it is English only. If you're targeting English speakers, it's a good data set. The last type is called, it's using bitstream data as a data source. So bitstream data comes from advertisers, display advertisers. So essentially what that does is anywhere where a display ad is being served, bitstream is picking up on keywords and things like that from that page. It's also, advertisers are also putting cookie tracking all over these websites where they're serving display advertising, because that's how they're going to pick up on cookie data and keyword data. So essentially what bitstream is looking to do is take this very high volume of data, try and tie it back to these cookie profiles, and use those keywords as indicators on intent. Some cons or things to keep in mind, with GDPR and CCPA, there's some gray area right now. There's been some like GDPR lawsuits recently around like, is this legal? Are you sharing this? Because you didn't get permission to track this, but you've kind of gotten permission to track this, so it's kind of a gray area. And then on the other side is more around tracking those keywords. How much logic are you putting into that? Like, if you're looking up, analytics or something like that, is it marketing analytics? Is it sports analytics? What are you going into in terms of analysis? And yeah, so like some of the differences there, right? Intent topics will tie multiple keywords together to an overall theme, whereas keywords are going to be looking for individual words. So an example here is, you might be scraping for keywords words social media don't appear together in an article, it's not showing intent for social media. Whereas if you're working through and creating a topic with a little bit of machine learning, AI, this is something that Onboard does pretty well. They are looking and they're seeing, oh, people are talking about Facebook and LinkedIn. I can infer from that those are related to the social media topic and start to get better signals or more reliable signals on that. To go forward from there, thinking about this in terms of ABM and even thinking about this in terms of marketing in general, I don't think ABM needs to be a isolated thing. I think it's all part of your overall B2B marketing strategy. But there's definitely a lot of different ways that you can leverage this, engage this, and there's a lot on the screen, so I can make sure that we can get this out to everyone who want this for reference. But being able to feed those data points back into like the automated workflows, getting that directly into your sales hands gives you a lot of ways to take action on it. Definitely something that I think is important to keep in mind is what you want to do and how much trust you're putting into the intent signal. I've had the experience myself, even working in market operations with like inside sales team, where we've gotten some intent data and we're getting it and we were piping it directly to our sales team, and every single intent signal we sent to them and said, hey, give the SDR, give these people a call. And they were giving people calls, and then maybe they had the wrong person, they had the wrong thing, and they got a response like, no, we don't have a project. Why would you think that? Or, it's kind of creepy. Where are you even getting this information from? And so there's a lot of potential that if you try and go too fast with it or do too much right away, that you might build distrust with your sales team or not engage in the right way. So next I'll go through some like workflows in some ways that we thought about bringing in intent data and how to leverage it as part of the overall strategy so that you can get the benefits of it without over-indexing. Some of these are kind of the primary use cases we see with our customers, right? Acquisition, going after new targets, expansion, trying to expand your buying committee, accelerate pipeline, as well as get in front of more cross-sell and upsell opportunities. And then something that's been we've been seeing a lot of success with is retention. So being able to identify among your customer base if there's intent for, say, competitive technologies or things like that, and being able to address that ahead of time. I know we ourselves have been able to address some of these competitive concerns where before we might be waiting until we went and said, oh, it's about time to talk about your renewal, and that's when we're like, well, actually, we don't think we're going to renew this year. But if you're ahead of that, then you have the opportunity to talk about product features, product roadmaps, and things like that. So this is kind of a building slide just to think about leveraging intent and where it comes in. So common stat put in marketing presentations, right? 60% of the buyers journeys happening before they reach out, before they fill out a form. So when this anonymous research is being done, when people are out there on analyst sites, when they're researching a topic, this is the place where intent really comes in. The place to be, right? You get that intent alert, and then what you can do is you can start feeding that into personalizing your content, doing display advertising, LinkedIn advertising, getting personalized content out to people who are showing intent, where you have content that's based around their intent signals, right? You have multiple product lines, take them to the part of your website that's going to be important to them. You're also going to be able to get that right in front of sales so that they're ready and able to act on that when the time is right. So when you get that web visit, when that display advertisement is helping to drive brand awareness, people are coming back to your site and starting to explore, getting that web visit alert right to your sales team so that they know that that account is on your site. And then they can be doing outreach before someone's even decided to fill out a form and make themselves known. So if you're doing this and you're way ahead of this and your competitors are waiting for that form fill before their SDR team is following up on that as well, then you might have already completed your demo before they're making their initial call. Again, intent can also play into the acceleration activities once an opportunity is created, factoring a lot of this data in, modifying your messaging over time. It's also great to be able to have your own data feeding in. So you can be able to say, bring in your opportunity stages or bring in different things you know about the account to change your messaging or modify your messaging over the life cycle of that opportunity to try and drive faster opportunity close, larger deal sizes, just trying to expand your success within those accounts that you're engaged with. So this is just some stats we had from Salesforce and implementing Foreign intent as part of the display advertising strategy. So by starting to trigger their display and paid social off of these intent signals, they were able to see an increase of 271% ROI and shorten the length of their sales cycle by a third. Here are some just ideas around using intent as it factors into email. So, of course, you want to make sure that you're tracking the topics that are going to be relevant to your industry. Something that we do, we will go to using Marketo for marketing email nurture, as well as Sales Log for our SEO team for outreach. And so we do have some Marketo email nurture and things like that that are tied into our overall campaigns. Those are going to be more around our targeted accounts. But for some of these things, we're helping our SDRs customize their outreach to based on intent. We have some different templates and sales outreach email flows that they can start to put people in, right? So if we see that someone is really interested in marketing analytics, we're going to have a specific SDR outreach track in Sales Log that they can start triggering that's going to help them progress that along. Intent can also be really helpful for identifying what pieces of your content you want to be getting in front of customers. And then, of course, knowing that you're up against a competitor ahead of time is always a great advantage. Next, I'll go through some of our just examples of what this looks like. So, in this kind of framework where we start from our target, where we're thinking about what are those target accounts we want to go after, creating an email nurture campaign, creating a display audience, your overall target accounts that you want to go after. As you're starting to see intent for a certain product line, then change your display strategy, or even activate the display. So one thing that we do within the Terminus products is we let you connect your intent data and your own first party data into the advertising so that the advertising can automatically turn on and off based on different changing signals. So you could say a list of 1,000 target accounts and say, I want to get after all of these, but don't spend money on display ads until they're showing intent for any of these topics. So that way you can be really focused with your marketing spend so that you're being as effective and efficient as possible. And then as you go, engagement spike in our nomenclature is part of our web tracking that we do for customers. We'll place a web tracking snippet on our site. Engagement spike is looking back at a historical baseline for any company and then showing when we see increased engagement or increased engagement in a particular area on your website, we can trigger engagement spike. So that's kind of just a smart indicator, but you can just think of that as increased traffic. And that can start to just modify and update your strategy. So really what we're seeing across these whole flows or streams is that we want to take these different points in the journey and use these signals to modify our tactics to try and drive that success. This is Lenovo's a good customer of ours. Some things that they're doing with driving better results with intent data, as well as with supplementing their other marketing channels with display advertising and targeted display advertising. Right, being able to get the higher open rates, opens, click-through rates, all very great early indicators that help drive that overall success. Another use case that we've seen work pretty well is combining intent data with regional data, like understanding where accounts are in different regions. So for field marketers or thinking about different roadshow or hosting different events in different areas, being able to look for places where you have the most concentrated target accounts showing intent around a certain topic, that should be a little bit more prescriptive with events. So we've had a certain situation where, this is going to be a more marketing focused thing. We're going to have more engine users, people who are more interested in the marketing side of things. We're going to have our CMO at this event to different people. We have other parts of our product and different things that are more appealing to sales and interacting with sales users. We've had, our heads of sales, some of our VPs go out and get to meet with people and engage with them in that kind of way. So just having more information going through this planning helps you to spend that event budget better. And yeah, so throwing an event that someone's actually interested in is going to be more likely to get more people to show up, increase your open rates, right? Show that success. The last piece I'll talk about is the sales aspect of it. This is a screenshot from our product. This is our visual force page that goes back onto the account record layout within Salesforce. And really what we're trying to do with designing this is help sales teams, and particularly helping sales teams who might have been used to the demand gen flow of having leads or having MQLs where they're getting individual names of people that they're going to follow up on, moving to more of an account-based strategy or an account-based approach. Really trying to help them answer those questions, right? So if you have these anonymous web visitors from an account that are on a site, if you have intent data that's tied to the account level, that's all great. It's a great way for them to know which accounts to prioritize. But then as you get down to the tactical level, like what do I actually do here? Who do I actually reach out to? And so here the whole idea is to combine together the account level data, the anonymous web visits, the Aurora intent data that's coming together with known activities, tracking who's been responding to sales outreach, who's been actually filling out forms or attending events, and bring them all together into one place so that as sales is reaching out on these active accounts that are prioritizing these intent signals, they can know who to reach out to and how to. One thing that I'll say, this is definitely my marketing team will want me to talk about this, but one thing that we're doing with Aurora is you can get a free intent report of 100 accounts. So if you have accounts that you have that target account list, you build that out, you have 100 accounts that you want to get some information on. We can do this through here. We can run it against the Aurora database for you and give you signals what keywords those accounts are looking at, which accounts are in market for the keywords that you're interested in. Definitely something worthwhile to get just to get that data. If you want to go a little deeper, I'm sure after you do this, one of our SDRs will talk to you and we can set for a demo. But definitely want to get that out there. Other things to just think about, other ways that you can think about just implementing things within your strategy, tying intent topics to different product lines and competitors, automating your display ad tactics into different focus areas, like we were looking at acquisition, renewal, and expansion programs. Really training sales to understand the intent data and all the data that we have. I know myself from market operations background and having a lot of data and a lot of tools. I love having all the data in front of me. But that's not, you can't just throw all the data in front of someone and expect them to act on it well, right? You want to help coach them, help them understand how it's useful for them, and then drive nurture programs with that intent data.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, and now we have the Q&A part, so you can see right here. And I want to open up, if you guys have any questions, specifically for Josh at the beginning from his presentation. I'll start. Cool. So I want to turn to you the question we were talking before. All of this is well and good, but it's also pretty hard to work. So if I have to do one thing tomorrow, like how can I get started with this to get some results quickly so that I don't want to invest more and more time? Yeah. So I think from an account-based perspective or an intent perspective, I guess the first thing I would do when thinking about this
about just starting to break those different accounts that you're looking at into tiers, right? Having that understanding, even just being able to go against a great data set that most companies have a pretty good setup is customers, right? You can take your customer, all your customers, look across even just firmographic data around industries, company size. You should be able to find a pattern in what has worked well. Pretty straightforward with it. So being able to do that and then take that and apply it across your potential prospect database can be a great way to get some early indicators as to what would be a good set of targets. I have to say, you don't have to boil the ocean with that, right? I know our customers, especially customers who are coming into account-based marketing way, generally what we try and help go through in terms of strategy is first, let's figure out a small pilot program. Rather than trying to do ABM across all salespeople, who are those 2 salespeople that are really interested, really trying to do more, really trying to push the envelope? Sit down with them and figure out the 10 best accounts for each of them and do a very targeted program. It can be a smaller budget and a lower risk, but you can also be very targeted with it and you can start to prove out the success of that. And when those 2 start to see success, then you're going to get interest coming in on that. So get more justification for more budget, more tools, right?
Thank you. And one other thing is, like you said, that taking out the customer, looking at your customer, there's a lot of things. I work with clients that sometimes they tell me, we only target VPs and above. Senior director and above and nothing else. But that's how how to do their those accounts. Is that the first conversation? They say yes. Then I go look at their opportunities and customers, and they all start with the manager first, and then the decision maker, the person assigned is another one. But the conversation didn't start there. So if I go and target chief financial officer at Walmart, it's very unlikely that he's going to sit with us and take the first step, right? But then it starts much lower, and then he or she might be the person who will sign the agreement, but that's different from what we're trying to do here. Another question I have for you is, what are things to avoid or mistakes that you see being done really frequently that kind of will prevent you from having a good setup and doing these type of programs and that?
Yeah. I think the biggest things that have done away organizationally is make sure that you have buy-in from sales and sales leadership and that sales and marketing are partnering together on an account-based strategy. I've seen a lot of people try and do this as an entirely marketing-based effort and kind of pushing uphill. We're trying to push against the sales process or push against how they're used to doing things. The other buy-in is good to have this is at the executive level, but I mean that of course there. I think a good part of that, and it depends on where you've been and where you're coming from as a marketing organization. But a lot of times I see people struggle on the KPIs and how marketing is being measured. Coming in traditionally just counting the number of booth scans they're hitting, counting the number of leads, and marketing just helps an MQL number. Trying to go to an account-based strategy where we have accounts that we closed where no one ever filled out the form, but they did respond to the sales outreach because they saw branded messaging, they got directed, but their particular website filled out the form. So just knowing that there's different ways to measure that engagement, and it's great to set revenue. Everyone revenue is a great KPI to track. But as you're launching a program, you're doing things, people are going to want to know what's happening 3 months in. And that can be great if you have revenue already 3 months in. What are some of those other earlier indicators you look at around increased website engagement from target accounts or meetings being set, opportunities being generated?
I have a couple of couple of more things that I saw as a mistake. Number one is, I think I mentioned during the presentation, when there's always resistance in narrowing down the target accounts. We try to specialize in vertical because you see that 90% of the clients, the customers are vertical. They say, well, but we can also target this, that. That's their own path. But it's not an ideal customer profile. So by using the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, I found that that's a good way to go around this and say, okay, we're targeting everyone, but 90% of your accounts are still on tier 3, and then these are tier 1 and tier 2, and that's what we care about. And you can run some low budget kind of background program for those tier 3, but then really focus your budget on tier 1, 2, that you have selected and spend time to look at those requirements. On the other end of the spectrum, I also don't agree with those companies that try to narrow down and really personalize things. So having companies that target like 10 accounts, and they want to do a custom website, custom landing pages, custom everything. And I, from personal experience, we tried that at one of the companies I've worked in the past. And I remember spending like 4 months to build this thing for 5 accounts forever. And it wasn't much more conversion than what we're doing on like more open-ended programs. So unless you have a team, there are companies that just want to target IBM and you have to be dedicated to that. That's great, but most of us don't have those resources. So try to really balance your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and decide how much value you want to invest. One way is the ROI.
It's an issue that we run into sometimes with clients who in the space who are trying to target keywords or topics that could also pick up personal browsing. So, for example, like credit cards. And I'm curious how Terminus or generally tease out research that would show intent that you would ladder up what a topic is. Credit card or credit card processing, where you could also use a lot of, personal research.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why we like Palmora as an intent provider. So Palmora is also selective about the websites that they're getting intent data from, and so Palmora is very designed around the right. So it's only picking up on the sites and articles, and that helps to keep that data pretty clean. And then the other piece of that is making sure that you're not just looking for words, and that you're looking for overall themes and doing a little bit more with like natural language processing and getting more out of it.
The same with the travel, the same, it's different because people are looking for travel, website and corporate travel. So that's the topic, but the machine learning, the natural language processing should be able to distinguish those plus the fact that more focus on analytics, website, content, and more distributed inside that.
Yeah, so would you say that did acquisition of new logos? Because one of the things that was really good for your own start ABM with your customer. Exchange opportunity really good for you to do that at all. Would you say that you can use intent for that, or is it more for that? Just direct that? Then would be fine. Like, just understand that they're like messy. It's like your own customer is like
personally, and maybe Josh doesn't have a different opinion, but I think that with your customers, you have a little less of a need to go and try to scout or search because you probably have a call with them every week, depending on the relationship or the account manager to go visit. Because you can kind of understand from other signals what is happening, but accounts that you have no link with, you have no relationship, no connection, how do you know what they're searching for? That's why I see a lot of, personally, I see more opportunities with the client acquisition, but I think, and I just speak about the retention piece was really important that you were mentioning.
Yeah, so retention definitely companies that have multiple product lines and things like that. That's where we see a lot of potential in expansion in that topics. I think from our own experience, right, we're an ABM platform, and a lot of our initial interest stuff is coming in around ABM and that engagement. But part of our platform is this breakdown technology that we've integrated in, which is like marketing attribution and marketing reporting and measurement and analytics. So we see our customers starting to do that type of research on getting that like measurement attribution. That's a great time for us to engage and even just let them know, like, hey, did you know that we have a product that does this? So that's a great way for us to do it.
I have one more question for Josh. Wrap up, and is most related to sales. So things that are some of the best practice. You mentioned something about having buying sales team, but especially in tech, we will have a SDR team. What is like the workflow or a process that you would implement to help the SDR team that is scrambling to do 50 calls a day and get into the quota become successful by using this? And also part of this question, who should own things that use sales, marketing?
So to answer the second part first, I think marketing is a good overview of data and kind of taking that in the first time and getting it into the right hands and in the right place. Right? Do you want to leverage it for a marketing campaign, or do you want to push this directly in front of an SDR for outreach? I think one of the best ways to get sales to leverage things and do that is to put it right in front of them. So being able to, I'll just use Salesforce as an example, but like being able to help them get set up with account views, potentially even leader contact views that have information around the website, the intent topics that are being researched, some way to score that so they have a priority. That way it's not them scrolling through and looking through and trying to do this research within the database, but able to just go and say, what are the 3 accounts I focus on today, or what are the 5 accounts I focus on today?
One more thing, make sure your sales team has really clear in Salesforce what are the accounts that are target accounts and what are tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Like I usually have a field for like target account, and we have like, for example, Q4 2019. Those are my target accounts for this quarter, and they can be the same next quarter, doesn't matter, but I have something that says this is the target account for this quarter, we are spending money against this account, and this is the tier 1 or tier 2. So they see that, and they treat it differently. And then they see the impact score and all of that stage. And once they go in the morning and look at the account, they're not starting randomly or alphabetically. They actually have a way to sort it out. Awesome. Thanks everyone for coming here tonight. Thank you, Josh and Terminus for hosting. Sorry.
Yes, I have one last question. You know that marketing and sales, as you said, are together. And but usually when you have the data from ABM, you are targeting companies without taking into consideration the person behind the business. So the person as a role, but also as a person part. So maybe understanding more the size of the value personas that is behind, so that you are doing the searching engine on your website. Do you think it would be successful also to really have the step ahead the marketing activities that then bring and help solve the sales? No?
You're talking about personal information, like for example, what people likes and what type of interest.
Yes, what people like, what people's behaviors on social networks that be related also to your companies, maybe because obviously if you check on the website, maybe also check on your social networks. But apart from that, apart from your company as other kind of influence, as a passion, life, and so on, so it could be a circle.
Yeah, I have an experience with that, and George did on this, but there are some companies now they kind of scrape a lot of that information. They try to analyze and tell you, oh, this person is interested in football and hiking, and so you could send, for example, a direct mail with a football or a baseball bat or whatever it is. And I know a lot of companies try that, and almost all the time they do like it's not like either it gets too creepy, too stalky, or it's completely mismatched. Like I don't care about this. So I think it might be a little too far from being good at getting that personal element in. So that's why I personally focus more on the professional element. Say, okay, you are a manager, you want to grow your career, become a director of the team. What can I do with what we do to help you that career solving or thing, but without connecting to the outside, because that would be too hard with the type of information that we have. That at least is my experience of kind of trying to play around with this kind of thing. But Josh.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting when you think about personalization and all of this, and you've seen things like people making personalized videos or trying to do these things, and it works really well. And then I think the trap a lot of people fall into is, oh, personalization works. How do we do personalization at scale? And it's like, oh, well, by trying to scale this, you just took away the personalization element, like you're trying to scrape this data and take these signals and do it, and then you end up feeling disconnected. So I know what we do internally for our SDR team is we have Sendozo for our direct mail, and all of our SDRs have like budget and the ability to go in there and choose what to send themselves. And so we've had some really great success stories, but it's where an SDR has seen like a LinkedIn post or a Twitter post indexed specifically to one moment for that. Like I think there was one where someone had posted about like Anthony Bourdain, really loving the Anthony Bourdain shows, and the SDR saw that and sent them Anthony Bourdain's book as a way to just like, hey, it's like interesting about this might be nice for your home office. And the reaction there was like, oh wow, this is really personal. Like, this is about me. But yeah, I think we want a person driving that so that it stays personal and you have that email.
Thank you. Was there one announcement? So we'll have the next meetup on December 12th at a conference called Blend here in San Francisco. We're going to talk about cool examples of account-based marketing campaigns that work. So we'll have some speakers presenting on campaigns that were successful, what were the workflows, what they did, how they came up with what were the results, and that. So this time, mark the calendar, December 12th, the conference called Blend here in San Francisco. Again, thanks everyone for being here, and have a good night.